you ever gone to start a project? You're measuring it out. You find out you're this short of the fabric you need. One good thing is that spurs on creativity. How are you going to handle this problem? You get creative. I'll show you what I'm going to do. So wow, I don't know what happened, but I think I do. I'm this short of the fabric I need. I don't know. I want to make my rosy skirt. This is one of my skirts, the rosy skirt, yoke, and this bottom part is just a square circle skirt. And it needs 1.25 yards of fabric for the basic skirt pattern for the bottom part. And it's like at least 44 inches, but it has to be a straight square 44 inches. And I asked for 1.25 yards, I believe, and she cut it, but then I washed it. I should have gotten more. Bad me. And because it, shrinks. But actually I'm looking at this fabric and it's so weird that I love measurement tape fabric. So I finally found one I really like. And it's so weird that my problem's happening on measurement tape fabric. But what happened was, I believe, so here is the fold of the fabric. Here is the selvage of the fabric. And I believe she measured it from the fold right here, because it actually measures 44 inches. So she probably cut it at 45 or 46 and then it shrank. Probably in the future I'm gonna have to get a little bit more because people seem to be really cutting it right on the 45. Usually they'll go, there's the 45, move over a little bit, clip it, and then if you tear it, then it's all on grain. But it looks like this was torn. I must have asked for it to be torn. And it also, just because this is a print, the measurement tapes are not exactly on the tear because it's a print. And prints are just printed on the fabric. If it was woven into it, then it would be exactly on there. But I think what happened, so if I measured, I know how to show you this. Actually, if I go up like this onto the fold, right here, this selvage, I'm gonna do it the other way so the white will show. Right here, if I fold this here, all the way here, so it's even, right there. This is my problem right here. So if she had measured it from the selvage, she would have cut out 3 more inches, just about 2.5, 3 inches more, and I would have had enough. But she measured it from the fold right here, which is just a couple inches difference. So literally on this square circle skirt, it's has to be really accurate. This is the pattern. I have it cut in muslin because I've made it so many times. This must be my 30th one right here. It's a circle and a square. So it has to be very square right here. So this measurement, just for my classic basic one, is 44 inches. And I measured it. I do these skirts a lot with layering. I'm actually wearing my first ever rosy skirt right here. You can't see it, but it looks like this. And I've double layered it. So I have like a silk georgette and then the top is a silk georgette and it's lightweight and all. So I could cut this thinner, or like I say, smaller, my smaller version, and then put a layer under it. That would be an easy fix. But these cottons, sometimes when you do that, they stick together and then the whole skirt gets heavy. So I don't really want to do that. But also, I have another problem, and this was my fault. This is the fabric I bought for the yoke. I think I just bought it. I just bought 1/2 yard. I don't know if I was going to do a yoke with it or not because I just loved it. And I thought, I'll just take 1/2 yard. But when I do my yoke pattern, which is this pattern here, I need to cut 2 of these. I need 5/8. So I'm literally 4 inches or like 3 or 4 inches off on this one. But I'm going to have to get creative on adding a couple inches to here too. This has happened to me before. Sometimes you'll just A lot of times I'll buy fabrics that are just like beautiful and they're $100 a yard, and I'll just get half a yard, and then I'm a little short. So if I just would have gotten 5/8, but I can also shorten this yoke a little bit and it doesn't affect the design too much. I could also put like a casing on it instead of my fold over elastic, which is like the easiest, and then keep the length or add that 1.5 inches back or something like that. So I'll figure that part out when I get there. Right now, I have to figure this part out. So what I'm going to do is add a strip to the hem part. And I got to first figure out, once I get this cut, where the corners are going to hit. So I'm just going to do like a banded corner and then have mitred edges right here. I'm just going to be sewing it like that, and I'll just go around the corner. I've made this on a couple of my 3-layer skirts, because the 3rd layer I make them really long. It's the fabric width is not usually long or wide enough, so I have to add this strip. So I think I'm going to just I want to use white Kona cotton and put it around the edge, so it's not a double layer skirt, but it has an edging to it. And I'm going to do it 3 inches wide. So I cut this pattern 4 inches wide, because I'm going to do a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and then a 1/2 inch I'm going to do another fold up like a self-facing. So that's what I'm going to do on there. Then I was thinking, what if I had to make this more difficult, what if I put a piping in between this print and then the white? And I was thinking yellow, because a lot of measurement tapes come in yellow, and then also there's measurement tape ribbon, but it's really hard to find. And I found some on Etsy, but it's about $15 a roll too. So I was like, and I don't know. I'm hosting one of my sewing retreats next week, so I want to make this skirt to wear for that. So I love making skirts in themes of events and all, and this is like perfect for that. I found this fabric in Prescott, Arizona too. I did a video on the fabric stores that I found there. I'll put it in a card up here. So I wanted to add a yellow, this is soutache braid, and notice it is 15 cents, or it was. This is from, and it's rayon, this is a vintage piece that I've had in my stash, and I was looking for yellow, and look, it's never been open, and it's actually not even dog-eared or nothing. So I gotta open this up. I don't know what year it's from. I'm gonna guess the late 20s or early 30s. So almost 100 years old. And I'm gonna add it. It's a very small soutache braid. And what you do is you just sew it in between that little part right there. And it'll just be like a little touch of yellow going around between the print and the white, I think. I'll do that when I get there. But I was thinking of putting a piping in there, but then I was like, gosh, that's really going to complicate things, and put the piping in between the thing. And I had this like tie-dye bias banding. I thought that would be pretty in there. So just add this like a little extra touch of color to this. I also have this little piece of fabric I found, and wouldn't it be cute to cut these spools of thread, because these are spools of thread, and then put them on around, just like in little spots, put them around. It's something I can think about doing. Yeah, I'm gonna get to this. I'm gonna lay this fabric out, cut it, and get it all squared up. And the print is very wonky. It has a little wonky, which kind of tricks your brain, because you want it to be, the brain wants everything to be straight and squared up. But if I square it up on this cutting board, it is not squared up. So I use an L square here. I'll find my shortest point and then get this all squared up right there. And then I just draw a line right up here. I guess I better get a chalk too, because this is not working. Get a chalk, and then I have to cut this part off, and then I have to cut that selvage off also right there, and then that should be squared up. And I also want to find the center of this, going to put a V in here because that's where the circle's going to go. Right there. And I'm going to put my pattern on here. I'll find, just want to see where this is at. The center here. And then this I have to cut the circle. One way of doing that, I don't do this very often, but I actually have the reverse of this circle, because sometimes this stretches out. You're trying to go like this, going like that. So see, this is how I just need that little extra length, because otherwise the skirt's just a little too short for me. So I just need to cut right here. To make sure I do that, I like to get a reverse piece I have. This was from another skirt that I did. So if I just cut it right here, so I can look at, because see how this is a little off here. It makes me a little nervous. Right there. But I could actually, see if I went like this, does it almost fit? Don't know. So why is that one so, I'll get another one. These are from garments I cut before, but it looks like it's the same exact shape. Wow. Probably, yeah. So I'm just going to go with that. I might have cut them a little bit deeper. Don't know. Yep, I'm just going to go with that. I need to make a pattern for this. I make this skirt so much. I've been waiting for myself to get sick of this skirt, but it just hasn't happened. Oh, I shouldn't have cut a hole in that because I've been saving all my circles. Okay, so now I'm going to cut, that will be the skirt. There we go. But before I move it, I'm going to put a V in that would be the cross grain. I'm going to put snips in the length grain, just because this will be the side seam. Actually, length on the side seam's better. I think I'll do the length side seam, or center front and center back here, and then this one will be the sides, because look at the stretch here versus no stretch there. There we go. Okay, so there is my skirt ready to be done, and then I have to get the white. All right, I was prepping this fabric to see how much yardage I need. I just had white Kona cotton, and that just a 3-inch border of white Kona cotton would be great here. Problem is, Kona cotton's kind of usually sometimes around 46 inches wide. It's a little, you know, at least 45, and it's just a little short. Right here. And I think that's the shorter one. And the next one is even a little bit, just again, another little shorter. So what I have to do here then is cut it on the length grain, and then cut 2 of these, one on the fold like that, which that takes a lot of yardage. I think that's about a 1.5 yards. That's not too bad. That gets. But now if this fabric were a little bit wider, so then I went into my fabric stash and I found a fabric that's a little bit wider, and it's this one, and it's got the sparkle. It's like a white cotton, really nice woven with a little bit of sparkle in it, and it's just a little wider right here. It's almost, what, 54, 60 inches wide. So I was put it up to this fabric, and I thought, well, that's an interesting twist. Do a little bit of sparkle on the end of that. It's just very subtle, but now I'm not sure if my yellow is going to look good in there. So then I've been working with some ribbons to see if I wanted to put just like a ribbon on top. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and cut those. and see how that works. And then I was thinking, instead of putting a seam right here, cutting 4 of them, what if I cut this on the fold this way and just had a fold, and then I would have to be sewing this like kind of in an angle this way and that way and fold it over. It would eliminate a whole bunch of seams there, and then it would just fold over. I think I'm going to try that also. So what I'm going to do here, now this has been torn, so it's nice and set. And actually I have to do, how much yardage would this take? I think this would be one of those. Looks like about maybe half a yard per, yeah, like 16 inches for one side, so it'll be just 32 inches, so a little less than a yard to go all the way around that side with those edges. So to cut these, I just need to get the length of how wide this is for a double, just like this, and then I'll tear it right there. Just do a little clip there. And it's exactly, so that would be like that. So that'd be one side. I guess I had to do 4 of these. All right, I have my clips here. I'm going to tear these strips here, 2 of them. Make sure I get those done right before I trim it all up. I think I need to go and press these because I want this to be very flat and get it all lined up really accurately. So I'm going to go press these and then I can cut them. Okay, I have this pressed, and what I need to do is fold this accurately. It's nice and folded. All the edges are squared up. I'm going to cut 1 of these. So I have to make sure I cut it on the, this way, yes. Because this is the seam that's going to go to get attached to the skirt. So I'm just going to make sure this is pinned here all straight. And then cut that one there. And I've got the second one here. Get this straight. And then I use pinking shears to cut these. It doesn't fray too much on the inside. There's that. Okay, and then I sew these 2 together. I need to mark the pivot points on the wrong sides right here. I gotta, it's hard to tell what the wrong side is on this fabric. Okay, so I'm gonna do 1/2 inch. Okay, now to find the pivot points on the wrong side here is to mark 1/2 inch and then another half the other way, and where they intersect is the pivot point right here. Because the pivot, you want to get it right. If this wants to lay down really smooth, get it right on the pivot points. And on this pivot point up here, it's actually where you start sewing. It's right here. I'll start sewing, then I'll sew here, and then I'll pivot right here, and then stop right there, and then reverse stitch on all those parts. I'm probably going to reverse stitch here also. Okay, so that will get connected to this one here, and all that. All right, so now I just need to go and pin this side right here. Pin and then sew it on 4 sides. And little reverses for security. Okay, have it sewn in those spots. Now I'm going to trim this part really close to here. I like to put my thumb right there and then trim, don't cut my thumb, right there, square across. So when I turn it inside out, it doesn't have a lot of bulk inside there. So now what I'm going to do is go and press this seam open right here on both sides. Press that and then I can flip it inside out. Okay, have it all pressed there. Now I gotta just turn this inside out and really get this. I'm going to use a point turner to get this in here once I get it in there and get that point out real sharp. And it looks like that. But then when you turn it this way, it looks like that. Pretty cool. And now just be pressing this down here and attach the other corners right here, and then I have a big square and I'll attach the skirt part to there. All right, have all 4 squares done. I press this one, that's gonna look really great. I love this. Wow. Now I just gotta figure out how to get the whole other part in here. So there'll be lots of pivoting. Be adding this all in here, pivoting throughout here. I'm not going to add any binding on here. I'm just going to sew it. That would actually really make it more complicated. So I'm going to find either use my soutache braid here, or might find another ribbon. First off, just got to get this all in here. And I think I'm going to do that tomorrow. All right, in today to finish my skirt. I hope at least get it into skirt form. Probably, yeah, I only have a couple hours today. So I've got the whole band done. It's a big square with my mitered edges right here in simple form. Just sewed it like a peak, turned it inside out. Trick is to really get it trimmed in there so that the seams aren't bulky. And on the other edge right here, so it's now a double with no seam. I love that. I pressed all the facing part under 1/2 inch, because what I'll do is I'll sew the skirt part to this raw edge and then like enclose the whole seams on there so no seams are showing at the hem part. Actually the whole skirt, because it's just attached to the waist. Wow, there's going to be no seams. See, I don't need a no overlocker machine because I'm always like enclosing the seams. But now my next thing is to attach this to this. That's gonna be the tricky part, because okay, now so separate this right here, and I have to pin. Just put it up right sides up like this, and then in this part is I just sewed it to 5/8. This actually looks more than 5/8, but or not 5/8, 1/2 inch. So right here. So this has to go right here, and then right sides together. And there'll be a little mark in there. Depends on which way I'm going to be sewing it. So you can usually eyeball this right here, so it'll get sewn right there. Like this will be this is probably the 1/2 inch in right here. So what I do is I sew from, oh my gosh, actually if you mark that up there. Let's see, it got trimmed though, that's the problem. I start right here, it's a little reverse right there, and then I sew straight down this way. It should connect all really well. And just go each part right there, and then when I get to this part, I have to go in and sew all the way and then leave this open here and sew it right there, and then it meets at that little part where I started right there, the little circle part. Then it all connects all perfectly like that. Well, wait till I sew. Now the length grain doesn't stretch, the cross grain does stretch, so sewing that too sometimes can be a problem. So then also is like, do I have this length grain? And I think they're all the same grains because I cut it. I think those are all cross grain, but this fabric does not stretch either way, which I guess is good. So I'm going to go and start. I'm just going to do one side at a time. That'll keep me from making any mistakes on there. Wow, this turned out really good. Have it all stitched 1/2 inch along here. Here is my little joint where the two met up, right there. You keep those free, that, and then you turn it this way and you have nice edges. So I'll be clipping that and pressing it. So yeah, and then the long one turned out really good. It eased in there right away. Too bad the print pattern isn't even. Would be nice. Yeah, so there's the two sides done right there. And now I have to do the other two. So just two at a time. I think that'll be easier to trying to do all four. Take up that first pin, and this is at 1/2 inch. It started there. Just a couple little reverses. Try not to reverse too far back. And just start. Right here was that little gap. I'll just push that fabric into the seam without holding down the fabric too long so it doesn't mess up the feed dogs. If you press it too far, then the machine can't move, so you have to fine line of pushing that in there so it eases in. Just go along, and that gap should get smaller and smaller. So I pull from the other side here. It will help straighten that out. There we go. Go right into the little circle part here. It looks like it's down just a tad. It's not exactly half. Looks good. Right now, I have to go press all this. Wow, this is looking great. Oh my gosh. What a pretty way to finish off too short a piece of fabric. Add a contrast border to it. That looks so great. It has nice weight to it also. So I've got this all pressed up. Let's see, right here. Pressed it all up, and then there's that 1/2 inch fold over. I just fold it over, and then I put my pins in that way. And now I'm going to work on the yoke part and then see how all this looks, because I think I want to put a trim in here. I just don't know which one. So I'm just going to leave it pinned and get the yoke on there, try that out, see how to finish this. I might not do anything with it. It looks really great. Wow. This is a perfect skirt to wear to my first day of the retreat I'm hosting next in a couple weeks, actually. So wow, Camp So Social. If you don't know about it, check it out. campsosocial.com. I do retreats in the fall, and I believe I'm going to put one in for the spring. I'll do them twice a year. It's a very small retreat. We do 4 or 5 people to cover 4 days. Check it out. Now for this yoke. I was trying to think of all different ways to creatively get it squeezed in there. But I think what I'm going to do is just make it a tad shorter. I don't think it's going to be too much. I've got this little frayed edge right here that I think I'll include it into the seam allowance. And what I'm going to do is just fold this in half. I need this fold right here. Get it really lined up right here perfectly. And then I'm just going to fold down. I've done this before. I think it's 1 inch down, because the yoke is pretty long, so I don't think it's too big of a deal. I'm going to put the frayed edge right here into that seam allowance there, because this scoops this way, and on the front I also scoop mine out a little bit more. I'm just going to get it right on there, and on here I also. Problem is I add usually 1 inch to my sides because my waist is a little bit wider than this pattern. I'm just going to have to, threads caught in there. I'm just going to cut this 4 or 2 layers at a time here. And then I have to add a little bit more comfortable, so I'm going to add here. And the reason I don't add it from the center here is because this part fits me perfectly. So I like to just do a line up that way, right there. So I'll just cut there and then not cut here. And this is, those fuzzy parts will go into the seam allowance right here, because I think I sew 5/8 on this one. So right there, it'll still be fabric. It'll be fine in the fabric. So yep, that's how I'm going to have to do that. I'll get 2 pieces here. This fabric doesn't have a nap on it, a directional nap, because that would be a problem. And when I cut this, I should have enough. That should be a little on the tight squeeze here, but that's all I got, man. And then I gotta cut this here. Okay, and then I have 2 yolks here, like that. And then my front, so I'll have to make a mark here that my front is gonna be a little bit more scooped in. I'm just gonna go 1/4 inch here because of how I reduced it there. Take all this off. So now I gotta make sure I put an F for front. Put it all over the place, right there. Then I will sew these at the side seams, right here. I usually like to pink that. Use pinking shears on here, so I just eliminate a step. I'm just going to sew, I think I'm about 5/8 on this side, and 5/8 on this side. Strange thread. And I'll have my yoke, and then I can connect it. Alright, just a little bit wonky right here. Yeah, I just have to see, this will just kind of go a 1/2 inch seam instead of 5/8, and it will blend back in. Oh man, talk about cutting it close. Alright, go sew these. I have it sewn. I'm just going to pink off a little bit of this. I'm not lining this at all. I just don't want this to fray too much. Stops it from fraying for a little while. That. And then what I think I'm going to do here, so this is crooked, is I'm going to pre-mark a line all along here, because it will, it's 5/8 from that part, but it's what, 3/8 or 1/2 from that part. And that'll keep me all on track right here. And then it will be pre-marked when I get the skirt pinned on here. I don't have to worry about following the wrong mark. To start, I put some marks where the side seams are and the centers. So I'm going to have this as my center, because I wanted my length grain to be down the center for stretching reasons. And then I've got to find the front here. So I put F's for front there, because that's important, because it dips a little further. Then I have to mark the center here. I didn't do that. So find center here. And then I put a pin there also, and then I need to center back, because actually I'll be probably working back or from the reverse side here, which I can't see. So if I put a pin, that will help. Okay, now the front is here. I'm gonna put that, mark that right there. There's my marks that I have. And then just go around it. Find the side seam right there. Right there. So those quarter parts, those pins stay put. It goes right there. Here's where the fuzz is going to come. The fuzzy part. And a quarter, the other quarter is right here. Here we go. So now each quarter will get pinned. And then I'll be sewing on that chalk mark. We'll connect the two. A lot of my skirts I put piping in between this layer, but lately I've been just sewing ribbons or some kind of other trim right on top of the top part under there, and I think that's what I'll be doing with this one too, because I don't have a lot of fabric that'll just make everything harder the way this is uneven. All right, so I'll continue pinning this, and then I'm going to go and sew right on my chalk mark there. Wow, this looks fantastic. Oh my gosh. I love it when I have to solve a problem because of a problem and I end up with something more creative. I wouldn't have done this to this skirt like that. I love this. Really has put some weight to it, which I really like. And wow, the 3 inches, actually I think it was a little bit bigger because I didn't put the seam in there, and it's about 3.5 inches here. There was another skirt I was going to do that had this border on it. I just haven't gotten around to it. It was a panel I found with these really pretty colors. I was going to do different colors all along the side. So now that I have the pattern, I think I can get going on that one. But wow, this looks really wonderful. So pressed the seam up, I pinked it, and got all this pressed. I'm ready for the elastic, but I got to put a trim on here. So I have some trims I've been collecting, and I just came across these today. I've been cleaning out my studio, getting ready for the retreat, and I had these donated. They're kind of strange little things. I've never seen these before. It's from Clover. It's quick bias, fusible bias tape. I don't know why you would do that, but bias tape usually covers a seam or something, but this has, it's like a real tiny bias tape, and it has a fusible edge to it here. It's just like a tape right on there, and you just tape it on. And I wanted yellow on here, but now that I'm looking at, now that this fabric is silvery, the yellow doesn't quite work with it. But so good thing I have this in silver also. A silver metallic. When I found this, I was like, you got to be kidding, because I was sitting there thinking, I want to put a silver in here, and I'm like, I was looking through all my stuff, and I had no silver. And then today I came back in, I was like cleaning out, and I'm like, what? Where did I get this? So I think I'm just gonna be able to iron this on. I hope it stays on. I'll probably hand wash this. Probably, I don't know. I wonder how it's going to handle in the wash. But I'm just going to put it around the border like that. Then I was thinking, if I have enough, because I think this takes about almost 5 yards to go around these, because it's 4 1/4, or so it's 1 1/4 length. Yeah, so it takes about 5 yards to go around, but this says 11 yards, but it's half gone. But I was also thinking about putting it up here, like that. But then I found, this was actually a trim that I really wanted to use on here, but I don't have enough. And I think I have enough. I should have enough. I'm going to put that up there, and I got to stitch that. I also like to stitch this up right here if I don't have a facing in there, so that all of this stays up. So I'm going to go and zigzag this, because I'm too lazy to get my overlocker out, and then just stitch, like top stitch that up. But actually, if I put that zigzag on there, I can do the top stitch as I'm putting the trim on. These are kind of tricky also, so you have to kind of go straight, but then actually if you can kind of do a little zigzag. I should put it on my machine with that, it has that little scallop stitch on it. I bet that might work. I think I'm going to try that. Okay. So wow, and then that's done. So I guess I have to go in and top stitch all of this right here if I'm going to iron that on. So that's going to be easier too, because trying to top stitch a trim right here and get it exactly on there is a little tough. So yeah, top stitch all this and get the trims on there, and then I iron on that silver and put the elastic on. And my skirt is ready for the retreat. Have the trim on. Wow. I used the little scallop edge right here and it just went all up and down there. Kind of gets it in certain spots so that the zigzag, so that the rickrack doesn't plop over. So it kind of helps it to do that. Wow. I love that stitch on the machine. I hardly ever use any stitches on my machines. It's usually just the first or the straight or the zigzag, and you know, those other stitches can really help sometimes. Wow, looking good. And then I top stitched all of my band down and got this part caught in there. So now I need to put the elastic on. All right, have the elastic prepped, have it pinned on in quarters, and then I just stretch it, tuck fabric in and zigzag it, and it just goes right on. It's the 1-inch fold over elastic that I love, and I have a bunch of white because the fabric store always runs out of black. So I use the white whenever I can, and it will blend right in here. And yeah, and this is done, and I just got to do the trim. All right, to press this on, I think this is going to take a while. This side is a little bit wonky, so I'm just going to, instead of cutting it off, I'm just going to start it here in case I need that little extra piece. All right, so it's kind of sticking to it, which is good, but this is that metallic, like tissue file type stuff. So I've got this press cloth I've had, and I've never tried it, some kind of pressing sheet, and I cut off a little piece because I think the iron is not going to like this stuff. So I'm just going to do it a little at a time. Feels so weird to, must be like silicone or something. I'll just press a little at a time. Yeah, okay, now it's on there. It's really interesting. I can't believe I found this right when I needed it. Now the other problem is how am I going to get these corners going? Wow. I have to roll this. I think what I'll do is get it right to the corner. I'll start with that. And just do a little bit, and then I'll go around everything and really anchor it down. And I have to do like a little peak. There's peaks like that. I wonder. It has a little. I'll just let it go up like that. All right, so now I have to continue on with this whole thing. And I wonder how it washes. The cool thing is it doesn't go flat. It still has a nice little roundness to it. All right. Okay, I'm going to continue on. I'll show you how this looks when it's done. Wow, am I glad I pushed through that little problem? And I love my new skirt. Wow, this is really fun. It's going to be fun to wear to my retreat. And wow, I love it. Everybody in my town knows I have a sewing school here, so they're going to know what that means. Measurement tape. I'll see people going, what's going on there? So that is proof that if you don't have enough fabric, is there a way to make it work? Adding a border, a contrast border, cheat it up here a little bit, you know, maybe if it's an inch shorter, will it matter? So sometimes it's such a bummer when you just got a little less than you need, and then you're like, what do I do? So you push it aside and you don't work on it, right? So now, yeah, see what creative ideas you can do if you have a little problem with that. And also remember to have them measure from the selvage when they're cutting fabric, and always get like maybe 1/8, which is only 5 inches, or a quarter yard more to make room for the shrinking, or getting it on grain if it's a woven, because, or even knits. Knits are really hard to get on grain. You have to really do a lot of fudging to make them lay straight. So always get a quarter yard more. And I learned that lesson with this. I'll be getting, because a lot of the quilt shops, they cut it at 1 1/4, right on the line, and you don't have a little inch or two to fudge. So, but yeah, there we go. So hope you enjoyed this video. Give me a thumbs up, Subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next video. Wow, this looks great. What a fun skirt. A lot of details on it. Turned out really creative.